We've come so far with Jack and Tien. From that first basket of tomatoes to a river house that needs saving. From Min's coffee shop dismissal to Miss Lan's sawdust-covered handshake. From 13 million dong to, well, still not enough. But here's where the story gets interesting. That evening, Jack doesn't call the Vung Tao client back. Not yet. Instead, he does something simpler. He calls Miss Lan. "Mr. Jack?" She sounds surprised. "Is everything all right with the contract terms?" "The terms are excellent," Jack says. "But I need to be honest with you about something." He tells her everything. The Riverland, the 400 million due in 5 days, the Vung Tao offer, the choice he's facing. There's a long silence, then Miss Lan says, "You're calling to back out of our partnership." "No," Jack says. "I'm calling to ask if there's any way to restructure the payment schedule. I know it's unprofessional. I know it makes me look desperate. But you said you valued honesty, so here's the honest truth. I need that partnership. But I also need to save my uncle's house." Another pause. "And if I say no?" Miss Lan asks. "Then I'll take the Vung Tao contract, save the house, and spend the rest of my life wondering what I could have built with you instead." Miss Lan is quiet for a long moment. Jack can hear papers rustling. "Mr. Jack, in 30 years of development, I've had contractors lie to me about timelines, budgets, capabilities. I've had them promise the world and deliver rubble, but I've never had one call me at night to confess a financial crisis before signing. I'm sorry, don't apologize. Let me think." More rustling. "The design phase is 30 days. We estimated 45 for first payment to account for delays, but if you can deliver on time, I could authorize a signing bonus. Call it a good faith payment. 200 million. Jack's heart stops. 200 million. It's half of what you need. But it's what I can approve without going to the board. You'd have to find the other half somewhere else. When would I receive it? Monday. 3 days from now. If you sign the contract this weekend. Jack does the math. Monday he'd have 200 million, plus the 5.75 million in the bank. That's 205.75 million, still short by 194.25 million. But it's something. "I'll sign this weekend," Jack says. "Thank you, Miss Lan." "Don't thank me yet. You still have to find 200 million in 3 days. She's right. But here's what Jack learned from buying that lumber, from showing up late covered in sawdust, from choosing Uncle Dung's dignity over a pristine image. Sometimes the answer isn't either or. Sometimes it's both and. He hangs up, looks at Tien. "Miss Lan will give us 200 million on Monday. That's still not enough. I know, but it's half. Where do we get the other half?" Jack thinks. Then he calls Fook. "Uncle, the Vung Tao client. What's his budget for the expansion?" 800 million total. He'd pay 400 up front. What if we proposed a smaller scope, reduce the budget to 400 million total? 200 up front. We could deliver faster, better quality and still get the deposit we need. Fook is quiet. "You want to take both contracts? Why not?" Miss Lan wants design and finishing. Vung Tao wants expansion. Different scopes, different timelines. We could handle both if we're smart about it. "Uncle, that's a lot of work. We'll hire help. Bring back some of the crew we had to let go." "Fook, this could work. What if it doesn't?" Jack looks out the window. Uncle Dun is on the porch, reading by lamplight. Tien is hanging herbs to dry. Yellow the cat is hunting moths. "Then we'll have tried everything," Jack says. "But I think it will work. I have to believe it will work." The next morning, Friday, Jack drives to Vung Tao. The client is waiting at a beachside cafe. Mr. Threnk, 60 years old, weathered face, kind eyes. "Jack." He stands up, shaking hands warmly. "I heard you were doing good work again. Independent now, right?" "That's right. Good. I never liked that corporate approach anyway. Too much polish, not enough substance." Mr. Threnk sits back down. "So, the expansion. I want to add 50 rooms. Update the existing ones. Make it competitive again." Jack takes a breath. "Mr. Threnk, I have a counter-proposal." He explains. "Instead of 50 new rooms, build 25 premium ones. Higher quality, better margins, less construction time. Budget drops to 400 million total, 200 up front. Why would I want fewer rooms?" Mr. Threnk asks. "Because the market's changing. People don't want quantity anymore. They want experience. 25 rooms that feel special will earn more than 50 rooms that feel generic." Mr. Threnk considers this. "And you can deliver in what timeline?" "Design in 30 days, construction in 90. That's ambitious. I have help now. A partner handling another project. We've got crew ready to go." Mr. Threnk smiles. "You're talking about the Lotus project, aren't you? I heard Miss Lan signed with you. Smart woman. If she trusts you, I trust you." He extends his hand. 400 million total, 200 up front. You deliver those 25 premium rooms, and we'll talk about the next phase. They shake. Jack has his 200 million. Combined with Miss Land's 200 million on Monday, that's 400 million total. Exactly what he needs. He drives home in a daze. The motorbike still rattles. He doesn't care. When he pulls up, Tien is in the garden. She sees his face. You did it, she says. I did it. Both contracts? Both contracts. Restructured. Manageable. 200 million from each. It's enough. She hugs him. He can feel her shaking. We're going to keep the house, she whispers. We're going to keep the house. Tien is in the garden. That night, Uncle Dun raises his teacup. To good wood and better decisions. To family, Tien says. Jack looks at them both. To second chances. They drink. But here's what Jack knows. The hard part is just beginning. 2 major projects. Simultaneous timelines. A team to rebuild. Promises to keep. Monday morning, he signs the Lotus contract. Miss Land's assistant transfers 200 million. Balance, 205.75 million. Tuesday, Mr. Sthank's deposit comes through. Another 200 million. Balance, 405.75 million. Wednesday morning, the final payment is due. Jack transfers 400 million to Mrs. Hoa, the landlady. Balance remaining 5.75 million. The riverhouse belongs to Uncle Dun, officially, legally, completely. Jack sits in his car outside the bank staring at his phone screen. 5.75 million left. Payroll is due tomorrow. He needs at least 8 million. He's still short, but for the first time in weeks, he's not panicking. Because here's what he learned. When you choose right, when you value people over appearances, when you measure success by good wood instead of shiny cars, the world notices, and sometimes it responds. Wednesday afternoon, Jack gets a call. Unknown number again. This is Jack. Mr. Jack, this is Jung from the Dalat Hotel project. We worked together 4 years ago. Jack remembers. Small boutique hotel, 15 rooms, beautiful work. They paid on time, respected the process. Mr. Jung, good to hear from you. I heard you're taking on projects again. We want to renovate our lobby. Nothing huge, about 60 million, but we need someone who understands our aesthetic, someone who cares about details. Jack's chest tightens. 60 million, more than enough for payroll. When do you need it done? No rush. Start next month, finish in 45 days. We can do half up front if that helps. 30 million, up front. It helps, Jack says. Send me the details. I'll have a proposal to you by Friday. Perfect. And Jack, I'm glad you're back. The industry needs more people like you. Jack hangs up. Looks at Tien. Another project, she asks. Smaller one. Dalat Hotel lobby. 30 million up front. That's 3 projects now. I know, it's a lot, but it's proof. Proof of what? That choosing right works. That people remember who you are when things get hard. That showing up covered in sawdust matters more than showing up in a Mercedes. Tien smiles. You're going to need help. I know. I'm calling back the crew tomorrow, offering them real hours again, real stability. Can you afford that? With 3 contracts? Yes, barely, but yes. She kisses his cheek. I'm proud of you. That evening, Jack calls the crew. 6 people he had to let go over the past year. Good workers, loyal, patient. Every single one says yes. We knew you'd figure it out, boss. One of them says, you always do. By Thursday morning, Jack has Lotus contract, signed, 200 million received. Vong Tao contract. Signed, 200 million received. Vong Tao contract. Proposal sent, 30 million promised. Riverhouse, purchased. Paid in full crew. Rehired, ready to work. Bank balance, 5.75 million, plus 30 million incoming. It's not comfortable, it's not safe, but it's sustainable. And it's built on the right foundations. Friday afternoon, something else happens. Jack's phone rings. He doesn't recognize the number, but the area code is familiar. This is Jack. Jack, it's Min. Jack almost drops the phone. Min, from the coffee shop. 4 cars, 4 apartments. Contempt in a sharp suit. Min, Jack says carefully. What can I do for you? I heard you landed the Lotus contract. Partnership with Miss Land's firm. Congratulations. Thank you. I also heard you're working on the Vong Tos expansion. News travels fast. It does in our industry. Min pauses. Jack, I'm calling because I want to apologize. Jack blinks. Excuse me? That meeting. At the coffee shop. I was dismissive. Judgmental. I saw the motorbike, and the sweat, and I assumed wrong. Why are you telling me this? Because Miss Lan and I sit on the same development board. She told the story about you showing up late, covered in sawdust, choosing your uncle over the meeting. And she said it was the most honest pitch she'd heard in 30 years. Jack doesn't know what to say. I've been thinking about that. Min continues, about how I measure success, about what I value. And I realize something. I have 4 cars, but I drive alone. I have 4 apartments, but I live in one. I have money, but I don't have what you have. What do I have? People who believe in you, who wait for you, who show up when things get hard. Jack thinks about Tien selling tomatoes, about Uncle Doom measuring beams, about Fook preparing portfolios even when contracts fell through. You're right, Jack says. I do have that. I'm not asking for forgiveness, Min says. I'm just saying, you were right. That day in the coffee shop. Money isn't everything. And I'm sorry I didn't see that sooner. They talk for a few more minutes. It's awkward, uncertain, but it's real. When Jack hangs up, Tien is watching from the doorway. Was that who I think it was? What did he want? To apologize. And to tell me I was right. About what? About everything. Saturday morning, Jack, Tien and Uncle Dung drive to the riverhouse. The lumber is already there. They transported it yesterday. 12 meters of premium hardwood, stacked carefully under tarps. Uncle Dung runs his hands over the beams one more time. Beautiful, he says. Just beautiful. They spend the day measuring, planning, marking where the old beams need to come out, where the new ones will go. It's hot work, dusty work. By noon, they're all sweating. Tien makes lunch in the old kitchen, rice, pickled vegetables, grilled fish they bought from a vendor by the river. They eat sitting on the porch, looking out at the water. This is it, Uncle Dune says quietly. This is what I wanted. What's that, Uncle? Jack asks. Peace, family, a place to rest. He's quiet for a moment. Then, your parents would be proud, Jack, the way you've handled all of this, the choices you've made. Jack's throat tightens. I just did what you taught me. No, you did better. You found your own way, your own measure of success. They sit in silence, listening to the river. After lunch, they start removing the old beams. It's careful work. The structure is fragile. One wrong move, and the whole roof could come down. But Uncle Dun guides them, shows them where to support, where to release, where to trust the wood. By evening, 4 of the old beams are out. 4 new ones are ready to install. Tomorrow, Uncle Dun says, we'll do the rest tomorrow. The house has waited this long. It can wait one more day. They pack up, drive home as the sun sets over the river. On the way back, Tien says, I sold the last of this week's tomatoes this morning. Made 90,000. Jack smiles. Every bit counts. I was thinking, there's good soil by the well. I could plant vegetables there. Tomatoes, herbs, we could sell them at the market in town. You want to run 2 gardens? Why not? This farm will still be ours, but the river house could have one too. A smaller one. Just enough. Uncle Dung nods from the back seat. I could help. I used to grow vegetables before the war. My hands remember. Jack glances in the rearview mirror. The old man's eyes are bright, purposeful. Then we'll do it, Jack says. 2 gardens, 2 homes, 1 family. When they get back, Fook is waiting with news. Uncle, the Dalat client approved the proposal. 30 million deposits Monday. Jack nods. Good. Start assembling the team for that project. I want our best finisher on it. Already done. And Uncle, the crew wants to know, are we back? Really back? Jack looks at his small house. At Tien's garden. At Uncle Doom climbing slowly off the motorbike. Yes, he says, we're really back. Different than before, smaller, but better. Better how? Better foundations. Sunday morning, they return to the river house to finish the beams. The work goes faster today. They've found their rhythm. Uncle Doom directs Jack and Tien execute. Lift position secure, 1 beam at a time. By mid-afternoon, all 12 beams are installed. Uncle Doom steps back, looking up at the structure. The new wood gleams against the old walls. Strong, solid, built to last. Good wood, he says softly. Good bones. Jack wipes sweat from his forehead. The roof still needs work. And the walls, and the... Uncle Dun puts a hand on his shoulder. We have time. We'll do it right. Step by step. They sit on the porch one more time. The river flows past, steady and calm. Tien brings out tea she made from herbs in the garden. They drink in silence, watching the water catch the afternoon light. I've been thinking, Uncle Dun says, about what happens next. What do you mean? Jack asks. I'm 72. This house, it's beautiful, but it's big for one person. And you too, you're still on the farm, an hour away. We'll visit all the time, Uncle. I know, but that's not what I mean. The old man looks at them both. What if you moved here too? All 3 of us. Make this our home. Tien glances at Jack. What about the farm? She asks. Keep it, work it, but live here. You said it yourself. You could run 2 gardens. And Jack, your projects are all over the region anyway. This is just as central as the farm. Jack considers it. The river house, 1 hectare. Enough space for vegetables, for animals, for living, and Uncle Dune wouldn't be alone. We'd have to renovate more than just the beams, he says. Then we renovate, Uncle Dune replies. Together, make it ours. Tien looks at Jack. What do you think? Jack looks at the house, at the river, at the land that cost everything and nothing at the same time. I think it's perfect, he says. They spend the rest of the afternoon planning which room would be whose, where the kitchen garden would go, how to fix the roof before the rainy season. As the sun starts to set, they walk down to the river one more time. The water is golden in the fading light, peaceful, eternal. Thank you, Uncle Dung says quietly. For what? Jack asks. For not giving up, for choosing right even when it was hard, for showing me that family still matters in this world. Jack's eyes burn. You taught me that, Uncle. I just remembered. They stand there as darkness falls. Three people who chose each other, who chose home over profit, who measured success in good wood and honest work and meals shared together. Monday morning, Jack signs the Dalat contract. 30 million deposits into his account. Balance, 35.75 million. Enough for payroll, enough for materials, enough for the next phase. He calls a meeting with the crew. 8 people now. The original 6 plus 2 new hires. Here's where we are, Jack says. 3 contracts, tight timelines, high expectations. It's going to be hard work, but it's good work, and we're going to do it right. They nod. They're ready. One more thing, Jack adds. We're not chasing the biggest projects anymore. We're not competing on scale. We're competing on quality, on relationships, on work we can be proud of. Like the old days, one of the crew says. Better than the old days, Jack corrects, because now we know what matters. That evening, Miss Land calls. Mr. Jack, I wanted to check in. How's the design phase coming? We start tomorrow. Full team assembled. Timeline looks good. Excellent. And your uncle's house? Beams are in. We're moving to the roof next. I meant what I said. When this project is done, I want to see it. You will. I promise. Mr. Jack, can I tell you something? Of course. I gave you that signing bonus because I believed in your work. But I also gave it because I wanted to see if you'd follow through. If the honesty in that conference room was real or just a good story. Jack's heart pounds. And you restructured 2 contracts, saved a house, rebuilt a team, and started 3 projects in 5 days. That's not luck, that's character. She pauses. I'm increasing our partnership scope. When you finish this resort, I have 2 more projects for you, if you want them. Jack closes his eyes. I want them. Good, we'll talk details later. For now, just deliver what you promised. I will. He hangs up, sits in silence for a moment. Then he goes outside, finds Tien in the garden. It's working, he says. Everything. It's actually working. She smiles. I never doubted it. I did. 100 times. But you kept going anyway. That's what matters. That night, the 3 of them, Jack, Tien, Uncle Dung, sit down to dinner at the farm one last time before they start moving to the river house. Simple food again. Rice, vegetables, grilled fish, but it tastes like victory. To new beginnings, Uncle Dung says. To family, Tien adds. Jack looks at them both. His uncle who taught him everything. His love who believed when no one else did. To good foundations, he says. They eat slowly, savoring it. Yellow the cat whines around their feet, begging for scraps. Outside, the garden grows in the darkness. Tomatoes ripening on the vine. Herbs waiting to be picked. The charcoal stove cooling. And an hour away, by a river that runs steady and sure, a house with new beams waits for them. Good wood, good bones, good people. It took losing everything to find what mattered. It took choosing family over profit, honesty over appearance, quality over quantity. But here, now, with these people, at this table, Jack has everything he needs. The contracts will be challenging, the timelines tight, the work demanding, but they'll do it together, and that's enough, more than enough. Jack looks at Tien, at Uncle Dung, at the simple meal between them, and thinks about Min in his 4 apartments, eating alone. He doesn't feel superior, just grateful. Grateful for tomatoes sold at 15,000 per kilo, for sawdust on his clothes, for a motorbike that rattles, for lumber chosen carefully, for people who stay. The house by the river isn't just Uncle Dung's home. It's proof that choosing right gets rewarded, that good work finds good people, that family always comes first. And sitting here, in this moment, with these people, Jack wouldn't change a single thing. Not the coffee shop humiliation, not the financial crisis, not the impossible choices. All of it led here, to good wood, to new beams, to a river house waiting to become home, to family, and that was enough.